Uno, dos, tres. So let's imagine for a moment that Kenya is a shop, not a country, a shop. And every day, all 55 million of us walk in. Some of us are looking to buy, some of us are looking to sell, and some of us just want to explore what's in the shelves. But here's the real question. Who owns this shop? Who sets the prices? Who controls what's displayed at the front and what gets hidden at the back? Because here's the thing. A lot of young people in Kenya today feel like this shop is a shop where rent prices are too high. The rules keep changing, and sometimes the cashier does not play safe. So if Kenya is a shop, is it built to support young entrepreneurs to thrive? And what would it take to sustain this shop into something world class? This is Youth Assembly Platform, or YAP if you fancy. My name is Betty Njeru.
And I'm Anthony Irari.
And we're joined by...
Thank you so much, Betty. I am Brian Odhiambo. Brian Odhiambo is a community developer. I am a political analyst. And again, I am a key account manager. Thank you so much for having me. I hope we will have a candid conversation around all this.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we're here with...
Many thanks for having me. My name is Ken Gishinga. I'm the chief economist at Mentor Economics. My work as an economist is to look at economic trends and to help clients form realistic expectations about the future.
We hope to set realistic expectations today.
But let me tell you, it is not built for young Kenyans. I can tell you for free.
No?
Back in 2019, I tried to run a liquor store. So a friend of my spouse was moving abroad to Canada. Mm-hmm. And they had a liquor store in Kasarani. Mm-hmm. So we decided, okay, fine. She's leaving. It's open. So we decided to take it up and run it. I don't know. Do you know those guys? That guy who takes videos of guys with cars in Kile and then he posts them on IG.
Yeah.
So in my dream, I was going to be a big club owner and nikuja up on a Bentley, wanichukue video, something like that. But it didn't work out that way. So we took over the shop. It had stock, so we bought with the stock. Hakutuambia licenses expire, na hakutuambia ni ngapi. So unajua you expect maybe just one license ya county government, and then that's it. So we took it up, tukachukua, we started running. First day masanse, first day we started running it. And then he told us, okay, you don't have to pay for the license. You just manage the cops, manage the situation. You'll find a way to manage it. You don't have to pay. Because like the license for county government is like 30K or something like that. And then you have to pay 3 others. So you have to pay alcohol licensing board, fire, and public health. So you see, when you're starting and you've already spent money, you don't want to. It's a lot. And you're a young person. Savings too is a hassle too. So now we start first day. Karawa mmoja akakuja akapitia hapo akasema ni aje, hata ulizi anafanya tu hivi kwa counter. Unamza ni aje bro?
Ako like, we ni nini?
Sawa, unampea so. Asino asema tu ni sawa, kumbe so tu we can manage a day. Unajua? Then ukikaka 2 hours another one comes. Same day. Nashangaa sasa. Nikamwambia nikamwambia bro, nimepea mwenzako amepita hapa. Kasema najua, lakini pia kuna yangu pia. Sasa nasema okay. Sitaki masanse kwa shop. So unamkanja. Haya. So it's around like maybe 8 ikifika 10 mwingine anakuja. That happened for a whole week. So you're like, okay, this doesn't look so sustainable. So what is the other way? So unaambiwa wewe uende uongee na CS wa Kasarani. Mkipanga hii story wasa yote kwa na kam. So of course you go unamuona kando unamwambia I'm running like a small business hapa. Ndio tumeanza. Can you give us some grace nini? Anasema sawa. Mimi kila mwezi bora umenikanja hivi hakuna mtu atakuwa na kam. Amnasema sawa. So no one comes for 2 days. 3 days wanarudi tena. And then you are like, okay, unamcall unamwambia si talk, unamwambia hiyo ni makosa. Wacha ndo wapigia watarudi. So they don't come for 2 days, then they come back. It never ends. It's a cycle that continues and continues. Then since you didn't pay the license, so watu wakanja wanakuja. So wanakuambia unatoa pesa mingi. Then 1 week after that, then mte wa public health anakam, same story, anakuambia umelipa license, mchalipa. So pia huo lazima mkanje. And by the time you finish 1, 3, 4, 5 months in, pesa yote ni kama unatengenezea gava na watu. And then the worst thing is that after some time, nani ameona amekula kiasi OCS, and then there's some raid by some other OCS from another place. And then she want to pay from the account. So you have to go and beg for the account to come back. Sema si lazima, nikaifunga.
Ukaifunga?
Yeah. So, nikasema afadhali hata kuandikwa kazi.
Pole man.
Hata ikae bana. Kwani lazima. So after that, so my relationship with entrepreneurship in this country has not been very nice, to be honest. It has not worked out very well. So if I may answer for your question, hii kitu ijasetiwa up kwa
support,
why do you have to have 4 licenses to run a shop, one shop? Si afadhali hata moja ikuwe unified so that you don't have to pay all that. So true. I don't think it's well imekuwa structured vizuri.
By the way, I've run a business as well. A failed one at that. I had to close down in 2023, and it's some of the things you bring up. Licenses. Yangu pia ilikuwa about trust, employability. Sometimes talk is very high, it's very expensive. I tried supporting Kadogo economy, but Kadogo economy was like, sweetie, no. But Gishinga and Brian, today we want to focus on perhaps where the opportunities and what are the challenges. So there was, according to a Geopol survey in 2024, 82% of Kenyans want to start a business. 71% who are employed have side hustles. 72% hawana capital. They lack access to start the capital. Remember, 87% want to start businesses. We are asking, do the systems support them in this country? Because clearly, Kenyans want to do business. They want to do it their own way. But do these systems support them?
That's a good question. I'd say Kenyans are very entrepreneurial. Kenyans are very innovative, and they want to contribute not only to job creation, but also to self-actualization, as he said with his Lexus coming. But the problem is our structure of our economy has not been set up for entrepreneurship in a serious way. Even from the very earliest days of our education system, you remember even the top students when they're being interviewed on TV of KCP, KCSE, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's always
Daktari,
Doctor,
a pilot. When was the last time you heard
engineer.
somebody saying I want to be a business owner or an entrepreneur? So even from a very early age, entrepreneurship is seen as something people do if they don't get into the formal system, which is absolutely wrong. You go to the US, people are dropping out from Ivy League universities. Look at Mark Zuckerberg, look at Bill Gates. They drop out from prestigious universities to go start. So in the US, it's the top people who think about business, but in Kenya, it's supposed to be somebody who didn't get a job.
It's frowned upon.
It's frowned upon. And even if you look at our historical structure as a country, we got independence in the 60s. And the first really session paper was how do we get Africans into the public service, to replace the Mzungu. So it was about getting Africans education so they can get jobs in government. It's only till the 1980s that they realized that government can only employ so many people. The real opportunity is in the private sector. So from the 80s, late 80s, that is when really the entrepreneurial, what capitalism begins. So if you go to the 90s, you saw the first private media house, the KTNs, coming in, the first private radio stations, Capital FM. So it's only that time in the 90s that the idea of capitalism.
I think at Safaricom was formed. Is it 99 or something?
99, exactly. So many of the first private enterprises formed in the 90s. So now we're almost 30 years in. And for a lot of people, that is their experience, but still it has not been institutionalized. Even if you really go to our educational curricula, ask teachers, how many of your grade 4s are thinking about entrepreneurship? They'll still look at you in a strange way. So I think it's still something that has to be inculcated first in our education system. Then now in our policies about our taxes, about how we make our business processes so tough that somebody who tries it a bit in Kasarani says, you know what, I'd rather go back. So I think those are the things that maybe we're going to unpack today.
Absolutely. Brian, are young people getting the support they need to start businesses, to furnish businesses?
Now, thank you. I guess the system has narrowed us down into survival mode, in the sense of we are only thinking of how do I sell today to survive today. We're not thinking of the long term. This is why the government is also taking advantage. Because explain to me why we have a situation where we have a lot of youths trying to delve into kuuza smoky na smocha na mayai. What I believe is a business should give profit, but again, it should provide a solution to a problem. These two are very key into the line of thought into entrepreneurship and business. But you see, nowadays we've narrowed down to how do I get a little source of income to survive for the day, and not what solution am I really providing. At times I usually blame our education system, because just like my co-guest here is alluding, that, you know, we are thinking on how do I get employed? We are not thinking of how do I, you know, create a job. What is our education system trying to do to open our eyes into us thinking of how do we create job opportunities, and how are we delving into this issue? Compliance is very expensive in Kenya. Think about licensing, you think about the county permits, you think about KEBS certification. It is very expensive. And I like what the president is doing with Nyota Fund, but allow me as a youth to take just a little swipe, because you're being given close to 22,000 to start a business. But you look at the compliance aspect, then close to half of this money is going
It's going to
towards
go to
compliance.
licenses and permits.
You get the point. And bureaucracy. How do we curtail bureaucracy so that we do away with the red tapes? Right. How I once did I had some 100 G's, and I thought, you know what, let me venture into a business.
Uko sawa.
Ndo hivyo.
You don't need Nyota Fund.
We
You
make
don't need capital.
we make money in Kibra. I had some 100 G's, and I thought, you know what, let me venture into, you know, a business, this as a youth. And I thought there's a market known as Hawkers Market in Kibra. I thought, let me open a M-Pesa shop. You get the point? You know, I was being told you need close to 10K for this. Then again, that 100,000 is for the cash flow. There's float, and then there's cash at hand.
Yep.
So I have 100K, but I can't comply. You get the point? So technically, I'll be doing business illegally.
Yeah.
So I think to support all this, we have to get back to the basics. We have to reconsider. We have to think of how do we devise more pragmatic approaches so that we will have as many entries into the market, but entries that are doing viable jobs. You see, in Kenya, we have over-glorified hustling. You know, like, I'm a hustler and you're proud that you're a hustler. You sell today, you spend today, and that's it. You don't sell tomorrow, then you won't spend tomorrow. I feel we are trading on very dangerous grounds.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Brian,
Yes.
what is this thing about? What is wrong with not wanting to have to be an entrepreneur? Ukuwe tu ufanya tu kazi, uko na off days, uko na holidays 6 months, uko kazi, uko na bonus, uko na health insurance. What if the alternative is that the institutions that we have on the current businesses that we have, what if we created a good system within government to support that, so that we have more people employed, they build into the economy? Because, you know, entrepreneurship is not easy also.
It is.
You know, it's very hard. You know,
Sure.
you're always at work. kama wewe ni mtu wa smoky hauwezi sema ati unaenda Sunday kanisa umeenda wapi na watu wanangoja watoke kanisa uwauzie smoky so
Unauzia nani?
unaona sasa so what could that be also an option? Lazima hii entrepreneurship tukue tumeglorify sana, hata kama tukufunzwa shule, si tulifunzwa kufanya kazi kuwa madaktari na mapilot.
Yes.
Si tu empower Kenya Airways, tununue ndege mingi tupate chances mingi za mapilot. Unasema aje? What do you think?
That's a very powerful question. And I would say, number one, large companies struggle with innovation. It takes a small, nimble outfit normally to come up with a new idea. And why is it? Because so the idea of entrepreneurship, in fact, the word entrepreneurship was coined by an Austrian professor called Joseph Schumpeter. And he asked, who is an entrepreneur? This is somebody who takes a risk for the reward of a profit. And why does he do? Because he has an idea that cannot work in the established environment. In fact, he came up with the idea of creative destruction. So think of a big company today. And if you worked for any massive company, it's so difficult to get
innovation
through because there's so many layers of bureaucracy.
Many
barriers.
Yeah.
That's why you find big companies would rather buy off small entities. Look at how maybe even Facebook bought Instagram.
What
It was
WhatsApp?
Meta.
But WhatsApp,
Meta,
because it's very difficult. I worked at Microsoft at some point, and I can tell you we were at 65,000 employees that time in the Seattle office. So it's so hard to get an idea from you as an analyst to Bill Gates or whoever is at the top. So it's so much easier for them to buy a smaller entity. So innovation thrives in smaller, more nimble spaces. And entrepreneurs love that. There are people who are designed for that space. They like, because it's free. Everybody is there to solve a problem. So the entrepreneur's work is to come and put his idea, and instead of writing papers to convince your boss that this is a good idea, you actually
just
get
do
it done.
Try it out.
Just do it, as Nike says.
Yeah.
Just do it. So I think it's that thrill that brings entrepreneurs to take a risk. Many people leave corporate jobs and they say, I want to make a difference. I want to use my skills, my talent. I'm seeing an opportunity in the market that nobody's addressing. I want to go there. So there's also a risk element, but the reward is, if I make it successful, I could be the next unicorn. I could be the next Mark Zuckerberg. The problem in Kenya, we've not yet had that Mark Zuckerberg sort of moment. And that's why maybe our innovation is still, people are still hesitant. When you go to Israel used to be where Kenya is today. In fact, there's a very good book called The Startup Nation. Israel used to be all about, let's work in big corporates. Until two young people left the financial services, came up with a small startup, and that startup was acquired for almost $1 billion. And that changed Israel forever. In fact, everybody wanted to be in the startup space. And I think the challenge in Kenya, we've not really quite had super successful people who could say they're unicorns.
Why do you think that is, Gishinga? Because Kenyans are brilliant people. They're some of the most brilliant persons I know, and especially in terms of businesses and coming up with new creative ideas.
I think it's just maybe structural issues that prevent scale, number one. Kenya, if you come up with an idea, the market size maybe has not been as big. The purchasing power for services. You come up with a very good idea, but is there a purchasing power? Then there are the taxes that you mentioned that can be very stifling. So we need to reduce the cost of capital. You talked about that. You know, how many businesses can you thrive when you're paying 18%, 19% on a loan? That's all your profit. So it still takes, I'm not saying it's impossible, but the conditions are not ripe for takeoff. And I think when we talk about our taxes, talk about the cost of capital, talk about our land, what do you call the factors of production? We have to talk about all the four factors. The entrepreneur is just the fourth factor. There's land, there's labor, there's capital. Once you address that, then Kenya can be ready to have the unicorns that can be seen all over the world.
Just on the same, I think there are a lot of factors to consider, and one of them being the electricity cost in Kenya. I believe, no, it is a fact. The electricity cost in Kenya is amongst the highest in Africa. Therefore, if I am an innovator, I'm thinking of how do I get into the market.
Yeah.
But then I look at Kenya and you see the factors are not favorable for me, right? Look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia actually, they do subsidize industrial electricity. That is why we have a lot of textile manufacturers going back to Ethiopia. So therefore, if I am to delve into that kind of a business, then I have to go outside and look for a more favorable condition, right? It is very unfortunate that we have a situation whereby we export tea leaves, but then again, we import
Clothing.
processed, tea leaves. You get the point? It is because we are running away from manufacturing in Kenya
Yep.
to go manufacture in another place. Then now we get back the processed food, right, or materials. So therefore, let us work on the cost of production. In as much as it is very true, Kenyans are very innovative.
Yep.
But the cost of production is where now we are having an issue with. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know the example you gave at the very beginning about the pub in Kasarani.
Yes.
All those costs that you're facing, in economics we call them rent-seeking costs. When people are coming to take advantage because you lack A, B, C, D, that actually becomes part of your business model. And actually many pubs, that's how it is in Kenya. It's actually part of expenditure. Now the problem with that, if now an external foreigner wants to come to Kenya and says, I want to buy you off, I think you're doing a good job.
I
They
know.
look at your books, they just run away. They're like, it's not scalable.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
nobody will come and
scalability.
say, hey, we can't actually, it's not even against, it's against our corporate policies. So that's the problem. That you have business models in Kenya that are so unique to the founder that if the founder steps away, almost everything collapses. I mean, look at like Nakumat. Nakumat at some point was in every mall
Yeah.
in Kenya. And it was every prime area. When Nakumat had problems, it should have been the easiest company
To save.
But people are coming and going through the books and they're like, hey, we can't. It should have been the easiest because it's a brand name. Any supermarket abroad would have come and say, we're going to take over. But they come. And that's another challenge we have with our business, where business models are not scalable. Some of the things you're doing personally, another entity cannot come and do it. They say, actually, it's a good, you're making business, but it's so tied to you as an individual that it can't be scaled. And then when you leave that setup and the whole, it comes down like a house of cards.
But Ken, but how much time do we need? Like, for example, you've talked about the startup space.
Yeah.
I've also been in the startup space. Like in the first business I used to work for, we used to be at some place called 88 MPH. I think it's rebranded to Nairobi Garage or something. Like, there were so many startups there. There was a music startup. We were running an entertainment platform at the time. And then you remember there's also another place that used to be called NiLab.
Yes.
Back in, and this we are talking about 15 years ago or something like that.
Right.
How did we get there? How 15 years ago we have been trying and fixing and retrying, and how come we don't have a unicorn 15 years later and we were like early adopters into them? I'm not sure by the time we were, Kenya's ecosystem into the startup space was growing. Our neighboring countries also were not there yet.
Right.
But as you have been there, if it's like even countries like, let's say you're talking about big business like Nakumat, Tuskies, whatever, we have had a chance. We have all this corporate governance that can fix this. But even we didn't learn anything from Nakumat. We still ended up in the same space with the Tuskies. I know it's the other business. Naivas is doing well. They have some good investment coming in. But every now and then we are always getting worried. There's latest news that something has gone wrong, and we are all panicking and we don't know, okay, will this one also go the same route? Uchumi, same thing. What is it? Is it, do we need to fix the policy? Is it the mindset? Is it, what is it that we need to fix so that whatever it is that we are doing actually materializes into something big?
I think we had a couple of game changers. Back in 2007, M-Pesa came.
Yeah.
And M-Pesa was such a big game changer for startups because you're able to make payments very easily.
Digitally,
Now,
yeah.
you're moving away from the cash economy. So even if you're in Lamu, you can still get a client up country to be able to make a
pay.
payment.
Yeah.
So M-Pesa was such a game changer. I don't know why the government wants to sell Safaricom. I think that's their worst idea. M-Pesa is such a national asset that we should, if anything, the government should buy
it.
all the remaining shares and keep it as a
Yeah.
national asset. Then you have the 2010 constitution that came up with some differences in how businesses should be set up. Even now today, you can now be a solo director. Before you had to be a partner with somebody, but today you can actually have a company alone because not everybody is geared towards working as a team.
Yeah.
So it came up with reduced. So you can actually go and register a company and you have Betty Njeru as the sole director.
Yeah.
So those changes came. At some point, I remember our governor, when he was a senator, used to talk about the startup bill. Sakaji used to talk about the startup bill. There was a bit of talk, but I don't know how much it went. But that's the same time that a lot of these 88 MPH were coming into Kenya. Now they became Nairobi Garage. So also a lot of people, I think there's also a cool factor that came in. You remember there was a iHub that came up, NILAB. So I think there's also now a cool factor that developed. In fact, people kept asking, what's the difference between a startup and just starting a business? Like, what's the difference?
I mean, I can start a business and call it a startup. My M-Pesa business is a startup.
But I think it had this tech factor.
Yeah.
Yes,
A
the
startup
tech
has a
factor,
tech
I think,
factor.
was
So that if you
the
just
X
have,
factor.
Exactly. So if you just have like maybe a chemist,
Yeah.
you can't say
That's
that's
not a startup.
that's not a startup. But the funny thing, the people who are running in the non-startups, the restaurants, they might not be in those tech spaces, but they have built a lot of experience in running restaurants. And for me, I keep saying those are the people who should have been accessing these Nyota funds. People who have experience. I think the challenge with the way it's being done right now, the money was almost going to anybody who's within the vicinity. But I think if they go to a place within Ukambani, in Makueni, talk to the people who are the real entrepreneurs in this area. Even if somebody's in a different sector, but is an entrepreneur, knows how to handle money, those are the people now who should have been targeted, because they're the ones who, an entrepreneur is actually it's a limited collection of entrepreneurs. And not everybody is called to be an entrepreneur in terms of the grit.
Yes.
So I think Nyota Fund would have really succeeded if they had really consulted and talked, who are the entrepreneurs in Westlands? Let's give them money to expand and create jobs. That could have worked better. So I think it's a series of bit of missteps, but still there's a very big hunger in Kenya. If you talk about entrepreneurship, Nairobi is still considered an innovation hub. In fact, remember when Obama came to Kenya in 2016, it was a global entrepreneurship summit. And people were coming to see, where is the next M-Pesa? Because I'd been told the next M-Pesa is going to come out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't think we've still figured out the next M-Pesa. I think the ecosystem still has not... and investors came and were a bit disappointed. They're like, okay, this is a home of M-Pesa.
Yeah.
But
we're clinging to this one idea too much. We cannot think beyond it. Yeah.
That's it. So,
but
yeah.
a perfect example. Do you guys remember Safe Boda? Safe Boda tried to penetrate the Kenyan market, didn't work. And it was a brilliant model.
What about this thing for public service? What is it called? Matatus. There was like a company. It was called,
I remember the name.
Swivel.
Swivel.
Yes.
Exactly.
They tried to bring order and sanity into public service. I don't know why they didn't.
I remember some of the issues were, I think there was talking about the cost of registration, the taxes, the market. The Kenyan market was not very friendly to them. But young people were using Safe Boda almost all the time. Even I was a customer almost every day.
So they used to have a helmet. They used
Yeah.
to have
Is it the cost of doing business in Kenya that is too high, Amma? We are not appreciative of these innovative ideas, Brian?
Now, I first of all like the question he asked about how much time do we need to take? And I'm a firm believer of making systems work fast before delving into other issues. Sequencing. Let us do the right things first. The president is giving out the Nyota Fund to the youth for startup, or rather to start,
Those businesses.
some business opportunities for them. But have we really worked on the cost of licensing? Have we really worked on the cost of capital itself? Have we really worked on the electricity cost? So it's like we are trying to erect a window in a house that has no foundation, where we have to do the right things first. Let us ensure that we have systems that are supporting the business itself. It's really funny that, and I think I'll just drop this over here. Are we venturing into entrepreneurship because we don't have the opportunities, or are we venturing into entrepreneurship because we need something to be flexible? Is it about flexibility, or is it about the lack of job opportunities? I guess that is something we can also
Tell us, you work with youth to be better. What is it? Sinime unashindaga na wao
no,
huko.
but okay, the truth is we are venturing into entrepreneurship because there are no job opportunities, right? Let's say I am learned, I have my degree, but I don't have a job opportunity. But then I'm being called somewhere by my leader and he's telling me, you guy, you know what? I want to give you a trolley. But because I don't have a job, you get the point. And we are hustlers. And it's the hustler nation, right? So that is the point of glorifying hustling. Why don't we look for more long-term approaches? Secondly, we have an issue. I said I'm a political analyst, so I'll just be throwing in some, political aspect of this. Indisciplined succession is something that is really hurting us as a country. Tell me why. In 2008, there was the Vision 2030 initiative. It was talking about youth empowerment. It was talking about how do we create more job opportunities by 2030. What really happened to Vision 2030? Because we had governments coming in, then they scrap, whatever the predecessors thought about. So somebody else is coming with their own initiative, irrespective of what the other initiative was actually speaking about. So let us go back to the drawing board. If at all we could have implemented the Vision 2030 agenda, then I believe some of these things could have been achievable. Now that is where your issue with time comes in. Take an example of Singapore. I like that agenda because you see, I'm from Kibra slums and I want to see a slum being transformed. Singapore in the year 1965, when they gained independence, they had no local market and then no resources, no natural resources. But again, in the 1990s, Singapore was already the third largest oil trader in the world after, I think, New York and London. How many years down the line? Only 25. Why? Because they did the right thing first. That, you know what, let us focus on what do we need to do first to ensure that we catapult to a first world from a third world. So let us focus first on sequencing. Let us do the right things first. Let us work on our institutions. Let us work on our systems first. But if we don't do this, then we are dishing out money to the youth. Then I'm thinking about entrepreneurship. Then trust me, there's no step we're going to make in the long run.
So now you've said that we are young people, or most of us are trying to be entrepreneurs because we have no alternatives. But you see, we cannot grow as a country. We can't move forward if we don't have entrepreneurs, if we don't have unicorns, if we don't have enough guys making hot dogs or whatever, if we don't have enough guys innovating with public transport, creating other things, the public ad spaces in public transport, all these things that are innovative, that keep the wheel going, we will never get to first world. That's guaranteed. So how do we now make young people, or maybe because they're the ones who are now supposed to do that now, how do we make them change that mindset so that they stop thinking as entrepreneurship as, oh, kama sikupata kazi gava, wacha niuze smoky.
I can be
So-
a businessman, businesswoman.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So how
of
do
course.
we make them? And like we say, it doesn't have to be like the cool tech startup stuff. It can be, starting a small business, a chemist or whatever business it could be for a young person. So how do we get them to have that mindset so that we can move forward? Because that's how you're ever going to get to faster. That's how you're going to reduce the margin for exports and imports, because you see, like, we import more than we export. So how do we create that kind of environment so that more people or more young people feel like, okay, maybe we need to become entrepreneurs. We don't necessarily have to work or get employed.
Thank you. I think I'm the only youth, so
Yeah. It's you.
Yeah,
You're
so leave
you're
my
the
question.
community
Thank you.
leader in Kibra.
Ongelelea
Ni
mayouth.
yako bana, ongea.
yeah. Thank you. Let us narrow down to our education system.
Mhm.
I believe CBE can actually work, whereby let us focus on somebody's capabilities, right? Let us not have an education system that only talks about for you to be somewhere, for you to be at the top cadre, then you must be employed. No, let it narrow down from our education system, so that when we are growing, we have that attitudinal change, right? So that when I'm growing already, I know that indeed I don't have to be, employed in some certain office for me to make it in life, right? Let us start thinking of that attitudinal change, and that is why we're having a situation whereby a lot of entrepreneurs are thinking about that environment they're in, right? Let us focus on an entrepreneurial skill that thinks of how do you scale, the scalability. How do I start up something that I don't have to sell in my own environment? Let me scale to, other environment too, right? And that is why, as a youth, I feel like there are other approaches that the government can also devise. Kenya as a shop, I believe it's more of a consumer shop than a producer shop, whereby what we buy, is more than what we sell. Industrialization. Industrialized countries, if you notice, and we have an economist here, he'll tell us if I'm telling the truth or not. But industrialized countries have more mid-level income earners. Why? Because the moment we have more of our exports, then we attract foreign exchange. The moment we attract foreign exchange, meaning the dollar is coming in because we are selling out. When the dollar is coming in, the shilling becomes stronger. When the shilling becomes stronger, we have low cost of fuel. When we have a low cost of fuel, then what means is we have a reduced cost of living. Therefore, if we have a reduced cost of living, then mimi na ile smoke yangu, I will sell, but I don't have to spend it yote because the cost of living at least is considerable to me as a youth. So how do I save? Then I think of scaling.
I get your point.
Am I making sense?
Yes, you
get
are.
the point. The cost of living imerudi chini. Mimi na smoky, I can sell and I can make profit to the point of saving something little. Then how do I now move from that smoky to something else? But now if I am confined to selling smoky, the cost of living is not even favorable for me, meaning what I sell today, I spend today, and that's it. So at what point do I scale? So let us industrialize. Let us think of, we build industries, then that is a job opportunity, because we need engineers, we need marketers, already. And I really like the president's 10,000 megawatt goal by, is it 2030 or 2032? Right. So at least now we will be thinking of how do we move from being a consumer to a producer. Right. Let us produce and sell whatever we could have consumed, and that is a plus to us as a nation.
Betty, do you want to go?
I like that to bring up this hustle culture and how it's glorifying entrepreneurship. And I see a lot of the comments, even sometimes online on social media, people saying this is sort of masking like a systemic failure. Right now in the country, we have so many funds meant for youth. Recently, Nyota Fund. We have Hustler Fund. Tukona Uwezo Fund.
I think there were many more before that.
So many, yeah, and many more before that,
Right.
But young people still say they are locked out of these opportunities, Why do you think that is? And why do you, perhaps, why are they not benefiting meaningfully from all these funds that are meant to help them?
Even before I answer that, Betty, let me build on what Brian had talked about in answer to the question on our perceptions on wealth in terms of why go into entrepreneurship. I think in Kenya, if you ask young people, how do you want to become wealthy, or what's the best way to have money in your pocket to be wealthy?
Forex.
Many of them will tell you, I need to meet maybe some procurement manager, somebody who can give me
some
a
tender
tender,
somewhere,
exactly. Or I need to be a politician. Yesterday I saw a politician putting 10 million, on a table.
In cash.
I don't think many people had ever seen that. So now the issue of entrepreneurship comes like a distant third, because guys are telling you, do you know anybody who does procurement? He can connect you. Okay. Do you know a politician? So the idea of coming up with an innovative idea is a very distant third. But when you go to other countries, US, Israel, where maybe corruption is minimal, so that it's not there, but it's minimal, the first thing young people come up when they say we want to become wealthy is let's get an idea. Facebook went from an idea from a dorm in a university to the New York Stock Exchange in 7 years. So for them, the idea of looking for a tender or running for office to get money, it doesn't even exist. In fact, I was talking to a Swiss diplomat, and they're telling me in Switzerland, people run for office because of just public service. They just want to help the country. He got so surprised that people here in Kenya run for public office because of money to get money. So in Kenya, politics has become a fact of production. But in economics, we only have 4 factors of production. But in Kenya, we've added politics
and it's at the top.
or connections. But those ones are not taught in economics. So first we need to remove those two, because nobody will take a serious business idea when they know they can make money in an easier way. They're like, why are you struggling with a concept paper and we know somebody who can give us a through pass somewhere? So until you seal those loopholes and make sure the fight of corruption is real, so you tell people the way you're going to be rich is through your innovation, through your enterprise, through your sweat. That is a pathway, and it becomes widely accepted. Only then can you have people coming up with serious ideas. But unless people come, but if people continue coming to the table really with a few hidden cards, it can never ever work. And I think that's a challenge we've had in Kenya. There are too many other ways of making illegitimate money. People think of betting, people think of any other thing. Then now we say, fine, let's start an idea. Let's say, for example, we say, Anthony, Betty, Ken, Brian, let's start a fintech. We sit down and we come up with an idea. We say, let's think of an idea like, let's come up with an app that can maybe help media houses process their paywalls. Instead of them having their own paywalls, we'll provide that service. Then you start going around. People will be like, okay, you go to the media houses, they'll be like, okay, how sure are we the payment you collect will be sent to us? Do you have a CBK approval to have a fintech? So there's also many layers that have to be removed. Now, to your question about the different funds that have come in, I think many of them have been crafted by civil servants,
Okay.
technocrats, and sometimes they might not understand the reality of an enterprise. In fact, I think maybe a much better way would have been to channel these funds to banks or to financial institutes that work with entrepreneurs on a daily
day-to-day,
basis.
yeah.
Because somebody works in credit at a local bank.
Yeah.
You might have a better idea on how to
Even
distribute.
within 30 minutes,
Yeah.
they'll be able to say, that's not.
You can identify someone to distribute the money to.
That would have been a much better way. But now the challenge the banks have had is interest rates on government securities have been very high in the past.
Yeah.
So for a long time, they used to just lend their money to government. You know, when Kibaki came in, he made sure interest rates on government securities were very low. It was 1%, 2%. So banks could not make any money from buying government security. And that's why, remember, in those days, I know you guys are young, but if you could remember those days, guys will tell you there was a lot of money circulating, because you go downstairs, you find a tent or people, they ask you have a salary, here's a loan. Yeah, because banks could not make any money from treasury bills or treasury bonds. They had to lend to the ordinary person. And that's why you find people are saying, you know, there's a time money used to really circulate. Guys used to do a lot of business because banks could release that money to you. But now, if a bank, if their euro bonds going for 16% or something, banks have no incentive to lend to. In fact, they say you are risky. Why should I lend to Ken at 15% when I can buy a euro bond or a treasury bond at the same rate, but with much lower risk? So another thing is we need to make sure interest rates on government securities are very low until banks are incentivized. And I think that's why these funds have not been. From the Hustler Fund, which was too little, the amount was too little, you could not do much with it. But even with the youth funds, the application process, who's reviewing your business plan? What capacity do they have? Many of them were not like credit professionals, so they don't know the things that a credit professional would look for. So those are some of the gaps, I think, that have been there, that those funds have not been as transformative as we would have wanted.
Brian, thoughts?
Have you ever tried to apply for any of those?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, yeah?
Hustler Fund.
Which one?
Hustler Fund.
And
Hustler Punch.
No, okay, I know Hustler Fund. The Hustler Fund is easy. Everyone can register. But like in your ecosystem, because you do a lot of youth things in Kibra, have you guys ever thought about like applying for maybe Wezo Fund, all these youth funds that were there before, as a group with an idea? Have you ever guys tried to do that? And if you have, how was the experience?
No, we have. Basically, the one we've tried is a Wezo Fund. Yes, as a group.
And how did that go?
Our politicians have narrowed this down to patronage. In the sense of, not everybody will be viable to get access. It's on who do you know that's there. So truth be told, be told, there are a lot of things we are supposed to work on as a country. And we have to start thinking outward instead of thinking inward, right? We are having a situation whereby the money is circulating locally. How do we work on a situation whereby it is not just about Wezo Fund or Hustler Fund or Nyota Fund? Does it have a positive effect on the economy in the long run? As a youth, we don't think of the long term per se. Trust me, right now, you approach a youth who received the Nyota Fund. Then you ask them what exactly they've done with that amount of money. Think of HELB. I'm very active tukifika X. HELB inaingia, then somebody is thinking of, wase HELB imeingia, leo tupatane wapi? So that attitudinal change that we are again talking about, the government will dish out Nyota Fund and Hustler Fund and Uwezo Fund, but is the youth willing and able to partake entrepreneurial practices with this kind of money? We have to change our attitude towards this. Let us start thinking of the long term. instead of the short term. So that if my group here, we want to, there's this document, mtu hujaza, or what you want to do with this money and all this and all this. You see, we can just sit down here, then we raise 5,050, we register a group, then we say, okay, fine, this money, we want to maybe do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you see, there's nowhere the government will come back to us and you see, inquire if at all we did whatever we were supposed to do with this money. Right. So it at times the government maybe is really trying the best. But as a people, are we really ready for the conversation? Because we're usually told that the quality of a people determines the outcome of a nation. Right. So let us go back to the basics. Let us look at our education systems. How do we ensure that we have a youthful population that is thinking of the STI, science, technology, and innovation, instead of thinking of how do we get access to this 50,000, the 10 of us, then we dish it out amongst us, then kila mtu ende yake. Then now we're thinking of when is the government again rolling out a similar project.
That is very interesting. If I can, so we are taking this conversation to Migori County next week.
Okay.
So as part of the podcast, we also do a town hall with different people to try and advance this conversation. And we happen to have a sit down with an MP from Migori, who's going to be like part of the panelists that we are going to be working with on this project. And he had a very interesting perspective. And for a long time, he mentioned that Bora Bora riders in his area, his constituency, make roughly between 500 to 1,000 every day as profit. And he mentioned that he's been trying to encourage them to kind of form some form of society with this money, because there are quite a number of them. So he was trying to do the calculations, and he was like, okay, if all of them were put together and each one of them made 500, they would probably make 2 million in a day. That would be 14 million in a week. You can see where I'm going with this. So in a month, you can imagine how much that could be.
Sure.
That's quite a bit of capital, and there's so many things they can lend each other money there in the circle. Someone can buy a new bike. They can also use that money to mobilize for different things. They can even decide that bikes the fuel, they are too expensive. Can we partner with a bank and we create some stations here where we can have electric bikes or something like that? But like I said, he's been trying to encourage them to do it because he can't force them.
Sure.
But he keeps on, every time they have a session, he's trying to tell them, okay, maybe we need to do this. I think this would be beneficial to you. But again, that never happens, never moves. They have the conversation, he goes back home the next week. There's still some, and then there's also some politics that comes into it.
Thank you.
That complicates everything. So is it that even if you ask a lot of young people, like you remember that thing for, you could get, it was called the AGPO certificate. So if you are young, under 35 or you're, I think women and young people under 35, you could get government tenders if you're below 35. So you need to have that AGPO certificate for you to be able to tender. But and there are so many youth CBOs and so many young people who have groups and whatever. But if you ask quite a number of them, they didn't follow through the process. Or maybe they thought, okay, maybe this is not for us, or maybe this is for select people, or it's too difficult. So could it be that, young people just enjoy being in their own, the state that they are in, complaining, and it's good banter of a drink on a Friday, like, oh, serikali hapana, isaidi, hakuna, but, getting, and that cuts off to the longer conversation, which is, like even the Asian tigers, quite a bit of them had to make very hard decisions for them to get there. And you see, forming a group, appointing people who manage the group, trying to hire certain, maybe being on board, people who can be accountable. It's a lot of work. You guys will fight, you guys will argue. Watu maybe like nisaba hii ingine watasema hapana, umepewa watu wengi hii side, lakini you fight it out until you get someone and you appoint people and you do the work and you get someone who can help. Mtu amesoma finance huko, akona degree, anawasaidia finances, mwingine ana google how to get to do all the paperwork, na mnapeleka documents and you try, and if it doesn't work then you say it doesn't work. But I feel like a lot of young people find it very okay to just it's too much. So is it that we don't want to, we are just okay with the way we are, and that's just who we are, we accept it, that we'll never get there? What is it, Betty? Maybe you might have an answer.
I don't think that we've accepted. I think it's both what Ken and Brian have touched on in their submissions before. There's so many access barriers for young people. So that, because sometimes you have an idea and you come up with this idea and you get to maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, unapita hadi number 5, but then at number 6 unapatana na kikwazo kubwa sana. You go back to number 1. You go back to square 1. So every other time you're doing it, the next time you try, there's another barrier. There's another barrier. It's just so many barriers for young people that you cannot permeate to, the levels that we're talking about, the ancient tigers you speak about. So it's a thing, honestly, it's a thing of access barriers to these opportunities for young people. It's not a thing of them being lazy or nah.
Uko sure?
I am sure, because I've tried
sure, Brian?
I've tried a business before, so
I think I would say entrepreneurship is a calling. The way some people are called to the priesthood or called to medicine, entrepreneurship is a calling.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go and force somebody. Even
be-
somebody who has done
Yeah.
an MBA in strategic planning, you have to have a calling because you need that grit to sustain. So, and you'll find there are people who go from business to business. They're serial entrepreneurs. One fails, they still have the
They
heart
try
to do
another-
it.
yeah.
So they have the calling. So as a policy maker, I should ask, every country has a limited collection of these called entrepreneurs. How do we nurture them so that they pass on those traits to their children, to their families? Just, I like you the fact you raised the issue of the Asian tigers, but think about the Asians in Uganda during Idi Amin. These are people who were expelled by Idi Amin in the 1970s. They had to go to Kenya, they had to go to UK, Tanzania. But even when they came to Kenya, within one generation, they'd already made more wealth than the local citizens here. So it tells you they have the mindset. It's not even, all their positions was taken away, but coming into a new country and within 30 years, they were there. So it tells you there's something about the mindset that has to be nurtured. But first it begins with identifying them, then nurturing them, and appreciating that there's a limited collection of them, nurturing them. Like for me, one of the big problems, for example, is this whole CRB listing. You'll find there's many entrepreneurs who did business with government. And maybe you built a road and you are never paid. And maybe the money you had used from the bank, you can't pay. So the bank blacklists you, puts you on CRB. And it's the government that delayed its payment to you. For me, I think such people should be removed. Because those are the people now who, if they were given these funds, would be able to expand. Because they're successful business people. It's just maybe their payment was delayed by government and they were not able to service their loan. So I think something like that is a barrier in of itself.
Yeah.
CRB out of government delays of pending bills should be them. So I think it's policy making, but also people appreciating that this is a calling. This is not something for everyone.
I think let us have an inclusive type of government. You see, one thing that has been ailing us, and the youth have been, talking about this, because there's a feeling that they're being left out in, development agenda. They're being left out in key decision making, because there are few people who sit in boardrooms, then they devise what they feel the youth needs without properly constituting the youth. We have the national youth policy. The national youth policy has not been has not been fully implemented. But you see, a lot of issues that are affecting the youth is enshrined under the national youth policy. So just like I usually say, and I'm saying again, let us go back to the basics. Let us not rush. Let us not rush to dish money to the youth to venture into entrepreneurship when we've not done due diligence. Let us involve them in trainings. Let us involve them in skill sets. Let us tell them what entrepreneurship truly is. I'll sit wherever I'm seated. Then I look at my friend. He's doing so well with his. I like using your trolley as Smokey. He's doing so well with that. Then I think that is the way to go because it's working for him. You get the point? It's because I have maybe limited knowledge on how to conduct myself, irrespective of the kind of business that I'm trying to venture into. So let us go back. Let us do a lot on skills training. Let us do a lot of involvement, for these youths. Let us try to devise means on how we get the youth to start, the discussion. Because if they feel like there's a dislink, let me also take a swipe at some of the cabinet secretaries, because we've had a communication dislink between our leaders and the common mwananchi. That whatever the common mwananchi is supposed to be getting as the agenda is not happening in the long run, because whoever is supposed to communicate this has not packaged it in a way that is deemed for the common mwananchi. For example, we had PS Hinga, I guess, on matters affordable housing. We all saw what happened on a national TV, right? So how do we convince the common mwananchi that this thing indeed is viable? That is where now we have a dislink. Let us work on how do we communicate some of this project to the common mwananchi. I believe if this happens, then we will achieve a Congress where the youth will be willing to undertake, some of these activities. But if we don't do that, atapewa do ya help na atakula, because what is the point? What is the need? Yeah. So let us also work on our communication.
Let's bring this conversation home. And question to all of us here. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure for everyone who's following this discussion, if you could change one policy today or system to unlock enterprise and trade, what would that be? And why? Very, very short, very quickly. Personally, for me, it would be taxes. I think taxes in this country are too bloody high. And again, they prevent so many young people and young entrepreneurs from, achieving their potential. What would you guys change? Irari, perhaps.
Me, I think most entrepreneurs need to invest in better PR agencies. Let me bring it home. Like what he said, jana tuliona MP 10 million juu ya meza. Sasa imagine wewe mtu mwenye akona gas company ameweka 10 billion, ameweka concept paper hapo juu ya meza. Vijana wakiona wanasema na huyu mzee huyu ndio anatisha, akona kipenzi nini. Like they show so that even young people see that most entrepreneurs hide in their cocoons, in their houses, in their businesses. They never get to see. So all this is private organizations that manage the private sector. Maybe that should be a rule, that if you become successful as an entrepreneur, you have to play your part. People have to know that you're successful, so that it sets the example for most young people to see that not only politicians, not only guys in Forex, not only guys who are doing shady business, wash, have become successful. So that, concept papers and other things that make a business successful become attractive.
Yeah.
So I feel like that should be our answer, because sahi venye tuko,
that's your answer, Irari.
I work,
Speak for yourself, Ken.
I would say it comes down to purchasing power.
Okay.
We have to put more disposable income in the pockets of citizens, because purchasing power is what drives businesses.
Yeah.
What's the point of starting a business and you have no customers? You saw the lady who was running a restaurant in Nakuru.
Oh, yeah.
who went on IG and she was crying.
She's
because
no
there was
customers. There's no
customers.
business.
Because the purchasing power, if you think of all the affordable housing deduction, it's 2.5% on the pay slip. If you think of SHA, it's 1.5%. This month of February, they want to introduce NSSF, more
Yes.
deductions. All that reduces the purchasing power of a citizen.
Yeah.
So in as much as I love your innovative products, if I can't purchase,
No
what is the
point.
purpose? So for me, it's reduce the pay slip, all these deductions. In fact, I think we need to have a law that says the maximum, there should be no more than 10%. If you add all the deductions,
The taxes.
they should not come to more than 10% of the pay slip, so that people can go there and purchase. If you don't have purchasing power, no business can ever set up.
Yeah. Brian?
If we think of Kenya as a first world,
Take a shot.
then we have to move away from consuming more than we produce. So basically, I'd think of if we could produce more, right, than we consume, so that we will have, the dollar. I'm using the dollar now in this perspective, so that Atayule Youth wa Kibra will understand whatever I'm saying. We will have now the dollar getting in instead of getting out. So that at the end of the day, we will work on the cost of living. Working on the cost of living means that now we will have a local market where the purchasing power is also high for the common mwananchi.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for joining us and for your brilliant submissions. This conversation does not end here. This is Youth Assembly Platform, YAP, if you're fancy.